over the weekend, tons of talent were released from the roster pages of both AEW and WWE. And while we don't necessarily know if this means the talents have been officially released, for this video we are going to go off that presumption and guess where all these talents are going to go next. Firstly, Cedric Alexander, and I predict that he's going to go to AEW. Now, of course, we know his good friends in the Hurt Syndicate are already there, and for the longest time I was saying that the Hurt Syndicate needed a fourth member, and for the longest time I thought it was going to be Ricochet. But quite frankly, Ricochet's new heel gimmick is working so well on its own that I don't really think he needs to join the group. In fact, I don't really think he'd fit in the group. If we were to pair Ricochet with anybody, I'd pair him with Samantha Irvine as his manager, quite frankly. So I predict that the fourth member of the Hurt Syndicate is going to be the fourth member of the former Hurt Business, Cedric Alexander, back in AEW. It makes a bunch of sense, and quite frankly, it's the easiest prediction on this entire list. Up next, Blair Davenport, and this one is a little bit more confusing because there's tons of different factors that you've got to think about with Blair Davenport, and quite frankly, all of the European talents who are on this list. And that is work visas. Now, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert about all of that because I'm not. But under the current rules in America, anybody who's currently living there on a work visa better get another job quick or you are going to be out of the country. So, Blair Davenport and the other European talents are basically going to have to sign with either TNA or AEW and do it quite quickly. Now, as we know, Blair Davenport previously was in AEW and she got fired in, I think, either late 2019 or early 2020. And while I could see her potentially returning, I mean, tons of talents over the years have been fired from places and returned, I'm not quite sure if I could see it happening, or at least I don't predict it will happen. Now, she is heavily teasing Stardom or Marigold in Japan. We know Stardom, she was a huge star there, and we know Rossi loves her, so she could easily end up in Marigold as well. But like I mentioned, work visas. She's currently dating NXT star Riley Osborne. So, if she still wants to stay there and live with him, well, she's going to have to sign with AEW or TNA. And like I said, I can't see AEW, so I'm going to predict TNA for the time being. But hey, maybe she doesn't care about doing long distance. Maybe she will go over to Japan. And quite frankly, a lot of people would love to see it. But if I was to put money on one right now, it would be TNA. As for the Good Brothers, they're another one who kind of could end up in New Japan or TNA. But I am going to predict New Japan for them. I think they really became stars in New Japan Pro Wrestling. People forget Carl Anderson was temporarily, for like a year, a main event star there. So I do think they're going to return and they are going to finish up their careers in New Japan Pro Wrestling. But equally, if TNA were to offer them a big deal, I think they could talk them into joining there as well. But New Japan is my prediction. Next up, the Authors of Pain with Paul Ellering, and an emphasis on with Paul Ellering, because if Paul Ellering is with them, I could see them going to the NWA. And I do think Ellering would undoubtedly help to really leverage that deal for them, because unless they do that, I'm not entirely sure. But the Authors of Pain tried to, create their own company when they were released last time round, and it didn't really go too well. In fact, it was pretty much a disaster in the UK, but this time I do see them going to the NWA. As for Sonya Deville, this is kind of anybody's guess, because I could almost see her potentially leaving professional wrestling and doing something else. But let's just say, for the sake of this video, she's going to stay in professional wrestling. I could see her being a huge star in Ring of Honor's women's division, so that is going to be my call. As for Isla Dawn, this is another one where she's going to have to sign with AEW or TNA and do it fast if she wants to stay in the US, and I don't think she's going to go to either. In fact, I think she's going to go back to the UK and absolutely kill it on the indies over here. I'll definitely be hoping to check her out on a show, no doubt about it. Hugely underrated and will be a great get for the UK independent scene if she does return. Duke Hudson. Now, technically, he wasn't part of this weekend's releases. We just found out he was released a few weeks ago this weekend. But if you guys haven't seen it yet, he released this video on his Twitter and I think his YouTube page as well, and his Instagram as well, where he basically talks to himself. It's basically the light side of him and the dark side of him, and it's a really great promo if you've not seen it, and I think the future is going to be bright for him. But he does need to go somewhere where he will have a bit of creative freedom, and I reckon the Ring of Honor brand is realistic, and he could definitely be a huge get for them. Up next, Giovanni Vinci. Giovanni Vinci, what went wrong with him in WWE? Honestly, he was so promising when he got moved back to NXT. He then got called back up again, was partnered with Ludwig Kaiser once again. They then split the tag team up really randomly, and then he basically got squashed by Apollo Crews, and that was it. Listen, a lot of people have a lot of theories. We don't know the truth. I want to know the truth. I'd love it if Vinci actually just opens up and lets us know what on earth happened. Even if it doesn't display him in the best light, or maybe it does, who knows. But I just want to know what went wrong. But I could definitely see him going to the NWA. Now, once again, work visas. I have no idea with Vinci whether or not he's actually now an American citizen or if he's still an Italian citizen. Because if he does still have Italian citizenship, well then, I don't even know if the NWA is possible. I don't know if they do full-time work visas or not. But presuming he can, NWA seems the most realistic for me. I can't see TNA, and I can't see AEW either. But before we do go any further, if you guys could like and subscribe, that would be massively appreciated. Here at Wrestling Republic, we create between 5 to 10 free videos every single week, and in addition to that, we have a live daily stream every single day, 7 days a week at 8 p.m. UK time, 3 p.m. Eastern over in America, and 12 p.m. Pacific over in America. Thank you guys. But now we're getting to the names which were released from AEW, and let's kick things off with the easiest one, probably the second easiest on this entire list, and this is Ricky Starks. Now, what we really don't know about any of these AEW releases, if they are even released, is how long their no-compete clause is, right? Because I just have a feeling, and I could be completely wrong, this is me ruthlessly speculating on this one, but I do have a feeling the release clause might be longer than 90 days, and he's just won the Defy Championship as well, so I think that might back up that point a little bit. But when Ricky Starks is properly a free agent, I think he's going to be heading to the WWE. We know he has a lot of friends there. He's a really close personal friend of Bayley's. She'll be putting in a great word for him. Same for Cody Rhodes as well, and I definitely think we could see him pop up in NXT in the near future and be a main event star in NXT and really help that men's main event division there, because let's face it, it's a little bit weak. Up next, we have Rusev. Miro, as he was called in AEW. I think he's going to be heading right back to WWE. But the Miro one, or the Rusev one, is a little bit weird, because we've not actually heard anything from him in a long, long time. We didn't actually hear that he was unhappy in AEW, but we didn't hear anything from him either. So quite frankly, I have absolutely no idea what's going on with him, and quite frankly, I don't think anybody does either. Now, there were reports that he was in Europe, and he was back living in Europe, so maybe that's where he is now, I don't know. But at the same time, I think if Triple H has his way, he's a big Rusev guy, so I think we could see him return to the WWE. And talking about big Triple H guys, Aleister Black, formerly known as Malachi Black, I think will be making his return to WWE. Now, I'm not entirely certain on this one, right? Because if you don't know anything about him, he's a really unique soul, and I mean that in the best way, super creative. But at the same time, he hates media, absolutely hates media, he hates press, and that's something which really comes along with being a WWE superstar. So when we first heard rumblings he was leaving a few weeks ago, I actually said in the Wrestling Republic group chat, I thought there was a 25% chance that he would return to WWE, a 25% chance that he went to a Japanese promotion, as he is a huge fan of Japanese wrestling, absolutely huge. A 25% chance that he would leave wrestling and make his own horror production studio, and a 25% chance he'd just disappear and live in the woods somewhere. Quite frankly, all of those are options. But Zelina Vega getting split up from the LWO and being moved to Friday Night SmackDown does make me think he's going to be on SmackDown in the very near future. I'm not going to lie. That's what's kind of made me change my opinion a little bit and side towards WWE. So that's my prediction for it. But that does bring us to the end of my predictions. Let's see how many I've got right. Let me know your predictions in the comments down below. But it's an exciting time. There's going to be a lot of movements in wrestling and it should be fun. But I'll see you guys in the next video.